Take a look at what happened.
The Secret Service did not co-locate its security room with local law enforcement.
There was no walkthrough. I spent a little bit of time there Friday evening. There was an incident with between Secret Service and the campaign.
I'll tell you, I stand before you in this arena only by the grace of Almighty God.
I was aware through radio traffic that there was somebody on the roof and also that he was armed.
There was a vehicle that was parked, and one of the Secret Service agents had approached this person.
My life was saved by a fraction of an inch.
Well, it was unforgettable. I didn't know exactly what was going on.
It's been 1 year since that tragic day in Butler, Pennsylvania, when President Trump narrowly escaped an assassin's bullet. Hello, everyone. I'm Griff Jenkins, along with Lisa Booth, Alicia Acuna, and David Webb, and this is the Big Weekend Show. Unfortunately, that wasn't the only threat against the president in the past year. Just 2 months later, Ryan Ruth, a second potential assassin, was caught with a gun at Trump's golf course in Palm Beach, Florida. Ruth has a long criminal record, including arrests for carrying a weapon without a permit and a hit-and-run charge. But Ruth and Butler shooter Thomas Crooks aren't the only people who are targeting President Trump. A new book details an alarming threat.
They certainly have an elevated level of protection around him, even compared to other presidents. But I will say on the campaign trail, what we found was they had kill teams in the United States. The intelligence folks were telling them folks in the United States who wanted to kill him.
Joining us now, DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin. And Tricia, thank you for joining us. I mean, the question I want to start with is whether or not these potential threats have been apprehended, or is President Trump's life still in danger? That was Josh Dawsey in his book talking about the kill teams that he was reporting on. He was on the campaign trail. Are those kill teams still here?
This is something that we are actively focused on, Griff, but I want to say, of course, we are so grateful that President Trump, by the grace of God and the bravery of the Secret Service, he is alive today. And we pray for Corey Comperatore's family every day, but especially today. I think that fateful day just underscores that Secret Service has a no-fail mission. It is incumbent upon us to be extra honed and hardened in our investigations against the president and all of our leaders, and make sure that they're safe. And so we continue to reform the Secret Service, ensure that there's greater communication with state and local governments, especially on the ground in these heightened threats and heightened situations, and as well that there's greater accountability on the ground so that the agents know their zone, and we can make sure that the president is safe, our leaders are safe, and nothing like this ever happens again.
Tricia, David here. Now, President Trump isn't the only one facing threats. ICE agents have come under assault, including this week during a raid at an L.A. pot farm. The president commented on the sophistication of the weapons used at an anti-ICE ambush as well. While Border Patrol found a bag from the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles, CHIRLA, at another scene at another anti-ICE riot in L.A. This is disturbing. Is the federal government investigating this suspicious link, and who's funding these groups?
The FBI, David, is all over this, as is Homeland Security investigations. A lot of viewers will remember last week at Prairieland Detention Facility down in Texas, we saw similar attacks against ICE enforcement officers. Again, it was highly coordinated attacks. They were wearing gear and had rifles as well. This was 10 individuals. But I will say, in those California raids, particularly disturbing the number of politicians that came out and continue to villainize and attack and demonize our ICE law enforcement officers. At that particular operation, David, at those marijuana facilities, our ICE enforcement officers found 14 children, 10 who were unaccompanied. They were likely being exploited, potential slave or forced labor, potential child and human trafficking. So this is something that is incredibly disturbing. It goes far beyond politics. And not only were there 10 unaccompanied children at that marijuana facility, but we also apprehended 361 illegal aliens with heinous rap sheets that include kidnapping, child molestation, rape, serial burglary, hit and runs. These are no people who should not be in our communities illegally, much less around innocent children, David.
Tricia, it's Alicia Acuna. Continuing on this topic in particular, according to Customs and Border Patrol Commissioner Rodney Scott, a child predator was among the 361 arrested during the ICE raids on the marijuana farm in California. 14 unaccompanied minors, as you mentioned, were also rescued. Child labor is being exploited, and Democrat Senator Alex Padilla is defending it. Listen.
The vast majority of people that have been detained, and even those deported, have no serious criminal conviction history. The same people who were deemed essential workers at the end of the first Trump administration.
So, Tricia, what information can you share about the child exploitation occurring at places like these cannabis farms?
Well, first of all, what Senator Padilla said is absolutely false. Under the Trump administration, 70% of the illegal aliens that have been arrested and detained have either criminal convictions or pending criminal charges. So he just doesn't have the facts on his side on this one. But I will tell you, we are hyper-focused on finding those 300,000 missing children that the Biden administration lost in the system. So many of them who have been exploited, forced into human or sex trafficking, child labor. These are the young people, these innocents who we need to find. And under Secretary Noem, we found 10,000 so far, and we won't stop until we find them all.
Well, it's good to hear, Tricia. It's Lisa. We also wanted to ask you about this. So we know there are several options on the table for where Kilmar Abrego Garcia could be deported to, including Mexico and South Sudan. At the same time, an ICE memo reportedly outlines plans to deport migrants to countries where they're not citizens. What additional information can you give us on this?
So as far as those third country locations, the reason that these agreements have been reached, Secretary Noem has done a phenomenal job traveling to, I would say, 10 different countries to create these agreements. The reason why it's so important is because when it comes to these worst of the worst, these rapists, these murderers, these human rights abusers, oftentimes their country of origin won't take these individuals back. And so we've made agreements with third countries who will take these individuals so they don't have to remain on American soil. As far as Kilmar Abrego Garcia goes, he will face justice in the United States. To remind viewers, he's a member of MS-13. He's a known human trafficker. He is a domestic abuser, and he should not be in this country. As much as the mainstream media would like to force feed us that he was an innocent Maryland father, he is anything but.
Yeah, the Maryland man from El Salvador, right, Griff?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Tricia, I got to ask you about this.
Exactly.
Democrats visited Alligator Alcatraz for the first time yesterday, and they had quite the reaction. Watch this.
The conditions that we saw inside this internment camp, they are essentially packed into cages, wall-to-wall humans.
We saw humans being held in cages, 32 people per cage.
This is a total cruel political stunt meant to have a spectacle of political theater.
A cruel political stunt. Meanwhile, your boss, Secretary Noem, has said that we can expect maybe more detention centers like Alligator Alcatraz in 5 other states. Can you tell us what your reaction is to those Democrats? But also, I'm curious, which states are DHS thinking about putting these other centers at? And what will that look like?
These politicians, Griff, are just rudderless, and they have no message. They continue to just try and attack ICE enforcement officers. In this case specifically, our ICE detention facilities have higher standards than most U.S. prisons in general. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, what she's talked about with these subprime conditions is absolutely false. These are air-conditioned facilities. People have 3 meals a day. They get better health care than they probably have had in their entire lives. As immediately upon entrance, they get a medical evaluation and then medical care as those doctors and nurses see fit. But these claims are just ridiculous, and they're untethered to reality.
So I know you don't want to get ahead of your boss, but can you give us any other states where we might see another such detention center pop up? I mean, I can think of places that have alligators: Louisiana, Mississippi, maybe Alabama.
There's lots of wonderful wildlife in the United States of America, Griff. As you know, I cannot get ahead of Secretary Noem, but the American people should know that we are looking at this as a blueprint for what's to come for the rest of the country.
Tricia McLaughlin, DHS Assistant Secretary, you do such a good job, and you would not get ahead of it, but I had to try. Thank you for taking time for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.